This is the Between part 3. We ended in the middle of a night phase last time with Hargrave House setting a trap for the sculptor. The trap involved throwing a sort of winter solstice party and fundraiser and charity event for the dancers. This combines several of the sculptor's favorite things, young male ballet dancers and pagan Christmas rituals. So that is your lure. We have not seen the sculptor yet. We're just one unseen prompt into the night phase, but this is we're doing kind of an extended night phase. It's not as short as normal. We had a lot of the characters kind of arriving, including Sir Stuart, who is throwing the party, and Admiral Flagg, who is there in attendance as a guest. We have Julius there at the party, and of course all the dancers. And we kind of ended on a bit of a mystery with Christian, one of the dancers, the new principal dancer, now that Massimo is dead, in the middle of like a sort of performance for the crowd that's gathered in Hargrave House in the ballroom. Christian, while doing a pirouette, began floating in the air. This is some sort of magic. Of course, we've established that the ballroom has Fey influence, so maybe it's that. There is a vampire on the loose in London, at least two. One of them is in attendance and claims to have no idea what's going on. But that is sort of implies that vampires at least have the ability to do something like this, to make people float. Who knows? We'll see. But of course, your vampire that you're going after, the Limehouse Lurker, it could be a brand new vampire and doesn't have power like this, so we don't know. And in any case, we haven't seen that vampire here. And everyone is just kind of awestruck. Some people are, probably trying to find the wires that's causing Christian to float up in the air, but they can look really closely and they're not going to see anything. We find our hunters in quite loaded down with conditions, actually. Several people are marked by the sculptor, or two people are, and that could be a problem if the sculptor shows up. We have Dominic still has a bruised shoulder, which could be a problem if there ends up being a tussle. Jakob is actually marked by Christian the dancer, and so whatever's about to happen here with Christian could be problematic for Jakob.
Exactly.
Yes. And indeed, I have some things to reveal about that. But first, we're going to go back to the unseen. Our unseen, let's see, is a drink at the Four Magpies, which is a little bar for young gay men. That's the principal clientele. And we're cutting over to Ben to talk about Curtis Jackson, a young barrow boy who has heard rumors of the Four Magpies, but never visited before. How do we see him make his first nervous steps inside, and how is he drawn in?
Curtis has been loitering across the street for a good 15 minutes trying to build up the nerve to come in when a small cart arrives with a barrel with some ale in it. And we see Polly O'Donnell, the landlady, come out and start talking to the men. And she's noticed Curtis through the window, but she looks at him, waves him over, and says, "Come on, give me a hand with this." And he looks around, "Me?" And she nods and says, "No one else is waiting, come on." And so she gets him to take one end of the barrel, she takes the other, and she just walks him through. And that's the last we see of him from outside.
Jakob, you don't know how. You don't know why, maybe. You certainly don't know how. But you are the one causing Christian to float in the air right now.
And I'm aware of that somehow.
Well, that's what I'm going to ask you.
Okay, all right.
How do you know that you are the person inadvertently doing this? You don't know much about your past. You certainly don't understand what you're all about. And this is something new about yourself that you were unaware of. But
Right.
maybe, I don't know. Maybe there's something about your past that we don't know. But
so there's a
yeah.
visual phenomenon that I've seen a few times in my life that I don't yet have an explanation for. It's imagine snowfall in reverse going upwards, the little sparkle of tiny white lights. I've seen this here and there in strange moments in my life where things that aren't quite natural happen, and those same small sort of inverted snowflakes are beneath Christian and emanating upwards.
You don't know how you are making Christian float in the air. Christian's so caught up in his routine, it's not even clear if he realizes what's happening. His eyes are closed. He's just very much in the moment. He's getting higher and higher, though. And if you can't figure out how to get him down safely, this could be really dangerous for him. This could just be somehow rescuing him from up there. It could be you somehow getting control or asserting control over whatever kind of power you're exhibiting right now. But in any case, be thinking about it because you're the only one who knows what's going on right now. I'm going to cut over to Victoria Belacqua. And actually also Dominic and Julius, even the three of you. You are approached by a rather fastidious, nebbish-looking little man wearing a tweed coat with a very, very small mustache I would describe as persnickety. And he has several larger men in badly fitting formal wear with him. And he approaches the three of you. I will say that the question you answered is to lure the sculptor to Hargrave House so that the police can take him in. And indeed, this man comes up to you and says,
Dom will kind of tear his eyes down from the floating dancer and say, can we help you?
Yes, I suppose you can. My name is Detective Inspector Pettigrew. I'm led to believe that you are a resident of this home.
Yes, that's correct.
Scotland Yard has received word that the sculptor might be making an appearance tonight, and so we are here to bring him in. I gather that the three of you are all part of this ruse.
At least two of us, yes.
Julius,
Victoria isn't saying anything. She's just mindlessly shuffling her cards, sitting, so she's probably at eye level with Pettigrew.
He says, well, it is a rather interesting trap that you've laid. I have to say, I admire the detail with which you have built this scene. It is the sort of thing that would draw in a madman like the sculptor. Beautiful young male dancers, his preferred victim. Scenes of winter revelry, which he has already expressed a great interest in. Though, I don't see any depictions of Father Christmas, or wrapped presents, or candy canes, or any other symbols of the season. So I do have to question your eye for detail a little bit, but nevertheless, I think you have most of it right here. I am something of an expert in detail. That is the key to uncovering that which tries to hide in the dark. one cannot undo evil in this city without having a fine grasp of the details. That is how one is able to hunt down evildoers, to find them, or to bring them to you. All in all, I would give this little trap a 6.5 out of 10. Not bad, but could be better.
That is exceedingly generous of you. I am sure you are an asset to Scotland Yard. Shall we set up your men around the ballroom to pounce when the time has arrived?
Yes, that's just what I was going to recommend, in fact. Good thinking. Men, and he kind of glances up at Christian. He says, that's incredible what you can do with wires and light and other things. Is the modern age so rapidly approaching us. And he starts to spread his men around. Meanwhile, Lady Florence, you are with Sir Stuart and Admiral Flagg. And Admiral Flagg says, tell me, Lady Florence, what's really going on here? What are you hoping to accomplish with all of this charity? You've never really seemed like the sort to care about the arts or the poor people who practice it. Why all this fall for all? Why involve Sir Stuart?
Just wanted to demonstrate to you, really, the beauty of aesthetics beyond those of the nautical.
Sir Stuart says, I was under the impression we were trying to catch a killer. Did I have that wrong?
I kind of nudge Sir Stuart in the ribs with my elbow, of course.
Admiral Flagg says, I see. This is Hargrave House work. Trying to catch that terrifying killer. It all makes sense now. Do you suppose you're going to have any luck, Lady Florence? Do you suppose you will be able to drag this monster into the light?
I have the utmost confidence. I'm not entirely sure who this monster is, though, so it remains a mystery at this point.
Admiral Flagg looks up. There is a grand stairway that goes down into the ballroom, and at the top of the stairway, kind of up against the banister, looking down, and Admiral Flagg says, I think that may be him there, Lady Florence. And indeed, you see the sculptor standing on the banister, his teeth clenched, looking down at the display, but focused very much so on Christian. He has a look that combines awe with hunger, spreading across his rictus features. What do you do, Lady Florence?
I think I have a fair amount of confidence in the trap that we've laid here. But perhaps I am just going to seek out Dominic and Victoria and see if Sergeant Pettigrew has arrived or not. So maybe I will just politely excuse myself from Stuart and Flagg and suggest they discuss. Oh, didn't Stuart just go on a the Victorian equivalent of a cruise a few months ago? And have you talked to Admiral Flagg about that? I hear that you went all the way to New York. I'm sure the Admiral would love to hear about your expedition.
Indeed. You can leave them to it. Okay, so you go and find the others. You will see a man who you assume is D.I. Pettigrew standing there chatting with Victoria and giving orders. He's particularly audible because everyone else is awestruck by Christian's display, and he's like not really focusing on it and focusing on the investigation, right? Julius leans over to you, Dominic, and says, "This is all very interesting, Dom, but what about the ballet dancer who is somehow magically floating in the air in the center of the ballroom?"
And you're certain it's not you?
I am quite certain it's not me. If it were me, all of the blood would be flowing from his orifices and he'd be spinning like some sort of lawn ornament, spraying it everywhere, but mostly in my
I
mouth.
thought you'd have better manners than that, than to do that in my home.
As charming as the idea is, I do have a way of knowing a little bit more.
Oh,
And I would like to use Thinning of the Veil to draw a card, roll, and see if I can figure out what's going to happen next.
oh, little
I'm seeing,
parlor
like,
tricks. How exciting.
Precipice of something. I don't think I've seen the sculptor yet. Lady Florence hasn't come over, so it's just like
yeah. I don't think you all know yet. I love that. Let's take a look at your move and read it, see how we're supposed to handle it, because I can't remember. A Thinning of the Veil. When you consult your tools to glimpse the future, roll with sensitivity. Go ahead and go ahead and do that.
I have a 10 plus, is it 2 for my sensitivity?
It's just 1.
Oh, well, 11.
On a hit, you can ask what is about to happen, and on a 10 plus, you can also ask why is it about to happen. And so I assume you're going to ask both. Well, we'll start with what is about to happen.
Yes.
There is an immediate pressing danger with regards to Christian, actually. You will pull the card of the Fool, which indicates someone young, a new beginning. Christian, of course, is beginning his new role as the principal of the Royal Ballet. Also, weirdly, the character of the Fool is, his body is like positioned just like Christian's is as he's twirling around. So this is a much more literal interpretation, I think, of what's going on here, perhaps. There is danger with regards to Christian. Why is it about to happen? Well, the answer is because it has something to do with Jakob.
Mhm.
How do you know? What cards do you pull, or how do you interpret the cards that makes you think Jakob's involved?
I do pull the Fool, but then also the Emperor and a couple of other of the major arcana cards, and it makes me think that there is something, it's someone very close to me personally, somebody that is very entwined with what we're doing. And as I'm holding the card, I look up and it is Jakob clear
yeah.
in my sight line.
Yeah, good. Let's check in with Jakob. Jakob, what are you doing right now? Christian's just going higher and higher and higher. If he were to fall right now, if whatever you're doing to cause this to happen were to just switch off, he would plummet to his death.
So I was raised in Wales on a sheep farm and spent a fair amount of time with one of those shepherd's crooks, and I'm used to the idea of kind of cajoling animals into where they need to be, often with a dog to assist, but no dog at Hargrave House in the moment. But almost, I don't know, in sort of half desperation, half instinct, reach over to the little what do you call it, the barrel where they have the walking sticks, and pull forth someone's cane that has this sheep horn handle and walk over towards Christian, and I'm kind of like trying to hook an ankle, and I get oddly formal, like, "Young man, come down right this instant," and sort of like chastising him in a peculiar way. I can't save every dancer in this troupe, clearly, but I can save this one.
You may have an issue because he's probably too high for you to catch his foot from the ground, but you might be able to go over to the banister opposite the one where the sculptor appeared and reach out from there and hook him and bring him over.
I'll do it. I'll make the effort. Run up the stairs.
Yeah. Let's just have let's get the roll on the table. Night move. What are you afraid is going to happen if you fail?
I'd fail to grab him, and he is crushed to death on the ceiling somehow.
Oh, the ceiling. Oh, interesting. It's worse than that somehow. I think whatever repressed energy is being unleashed right now from you is going to go out of control and cause havoc at the party. And indeed, it will basically put an end to your chances of catching the sculptor tonight. Go ahead and roll with, I think it's probably vitality, to be honest. And I'm going to put you at disadvantage, though, because of Marked by the Dancer by Christian.
All right. Disadvantage. Where did it go? Oh, disadvantage crushed me. It is a 6.
A 6. We'll come back to this. Let's go to our...
Totally willing to check a mask, by the way. I've got...
Oh, I know. Yeah, I know. Let's go back to the 4 magpies. Sarah, a well-dressed toff enters the pub, clearly cruising for trade. Which eager lads compete, good-naturedly or otherwise, for his attention, and who just scoffs at him?
As the man enters the room, you can tell that he is self-important. And those lads who have been around for a turn or two just sit at the bar as the man grooms his persnickety mustache and goes for some of the younger lads, knowing full well that if they were to take him upstairs, it would be an evening of talk and very little else.
Jakob, you are trying to reach for Christian. And something inside of you, it almost feels like a latch coming undone and a hatch flopping open and something just pouring out of you. That's what it feels like anyway. Christian opens his eyes and looks in terror to see that he's floating in the air. And suddenly he is thrust the rest of the way and smacks up hard against the fresco ceiling of the ballroom. And then things from down below begin flying up as well. There's the snow, of course, but also bits of furniture, suits of armor that are in the ballroom. It all just kind of flies up and just like smashes and pierces and gut, and like it's just like he's like a pincushion right now as things are smashing and piercing him, and his blood is spraying down everywhere. Julius is like, well, this just got a lot more interesting. And then it's just pure fucking chaos. Everyone is like screaming and running, and D.I. Pettigrew is like, everyone just be calm, Scotland Yard is on the case. And something flies like just past him, you know, and it is, it's just fucking havoc. It's chaos. And in all of it, you just see Christian's terrified face peeking out of a bunch of like objects and detritus that have smashed up against him and killed him. Unless you're going to mark the gas mask.
Definitely going to mark the mask.
Indeed.
Got to rescue Christian.
Choose past or future.
Past.
Okay, go ahead and mark it. We'll get to that later. Instead, according to the move, you will succeed, but there's a complication or a cost. I think the complication is just that. Oh, you can interpret complication. You can interpret this as a complication if you wish. This is what its cost, though. Basically, he will realize that you have rescued him, and he's going to start having a lot of like romantic feelings for you. We'll get to the rescue in a moment, though. So, Lady Florence, you approach the group.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm just trying to here just like check and make sure that things are in place. If they are in place, I think I actually want to go back So my idea here was that I kind of want to lock the sculptor down so that I want to get Admiral Flag and I want to get the sculptor and I want to play a game of cards with them. In such a way that like the sculptor can still watch what's going on, so he'll be distracted, but he'll be in one place. So we'll have kind of the bead on him. And then when he goes to commit the act, like there will be a lot, we'll know where he is and be able to focus on. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's a great plan, but how are you going to do it? I mean, how are you going to execute this?
The quick check that the men are in position, and then I think I'm going to grab Flag first and see if he's willing to essentially ask him if he wants to play a game of cards with a wanted murderer. If he's ever done that, feels like it might be alluring to him.
Do you say that to him?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So you're not approaching the other group then, or you've confirmed that everything.
I think
in place.
Like I was just checking
okay.
with them that everything is in place.
Flag will come back to you and he says, Lady Florence, Sir Stuart's company is starting to wear thin. What other amusements do you have planned for this evening?
For you and I, Admiral, I have a little game planned with a very special guest.
A game? A game different from the game we are already playing, Lady Florence?
Oh, just a table game, a game of cards. What would be a card game that they would play? Would they play Rummy?
I don't know. Probably Whist, maybe, or
Whist.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's look. Victorian card games. They played a wide variety of card games. Bridge would have been one. Yeah, there's lots of different possibilities. Pretty much every card game we played today was around then. So
okay.
You could play a game of hearts.
Yeah, let's do that. I know how to play hearts, so to some degree. So, how about a friendly game of hearts? But with a mysterious and wanted murder that we both know is in attendance this evening.
That's why I like you, Lady Florence. You know how to throw a party. You know what sorts of things get a man's blood up. Yes, I would love to play cards with you and our little guest, but don't you need a fourth for hearts?
Oh, we do, don't we? And you say Sir Stuart is a little boring at this point in the evening, eh?
And a notorious cheater at cards, too.
Is there someone amongst my my cohort which you would find acceptable to play a hand with?
Perhaps the beautiful Ms. Belacqua would like to join us.
And I look around and hopefully spot Miss Belacqua.
Sure.
I think that after Lady Florence did a quick security check, Victoria looked up from the card in her hands and the confusion over Jakob and just watched Lady Florence through the party and see perhaps, yes, and come over.
And it looks like she already has a deck of cards in hand. Perfect.
Oh, I'm afraid these won't do. What's the game?
Hearts.
And she pulls a different deck of cards out from her bodice, cracks open the deck and shuffles with a ease that should be off-putting.
Meanwhile, Dom, what are you up to?
Did Victoria pass on the knowledge that Jakob? Okay.
Oh, did I do that? Yes. You and I know.
Dom will kind of lean toward Julius and say, "You said our newest member didn't smell human."
No, no, no. He certainly looks human. Most of him. He does not smell like any human I have ever met before. There's something about his blood that is not quite right, though I would certainly love to have a taste of it. Maybe you could arrange that.
And he'll kind of narrow his eyes in Jakob's direction and say, "Maybe I could." And just wait one moment, and he'll start walking toward Jakob.
Well, Jakob's up on the banister trying to hook Christian right now. How's that going, Jakob? You're going to succeed.
Yeah, succeeding by checking the masks. Should I talk through I feel like I should talk through the mask narrative at this moment, if that's
you
all
want
right.
to, yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Yeah. So hang on, where did it go? Mask of the past. So to narrate a flashback to my youth, showing how children treated me cruelly because I was different. And then I will discover the vault of the four limbs. So when I was a child, my legs were malformed. They bent in a way where the country doctors have perhaps diagnosed rickets or something, but it's more of like a tibial hyplasia. And I used sometimes a shepherd's crook to move about, other times little crutches. And given the name of the shepherd's crook, it's obvious what my fellow school children would have called me, something like crook legs, to try and insult my condition. And I, in response, perhaps childishly, cruelly, would try to use my crook to pull their ankle out from underneath them when out on the playground. Miss Meredith chastised me, perhaps justifiably, but that was what I grew up with. And then one day my legs transformed. They healed. Some said it was a miracle. Others said it was the mark of the Fae, that my parents had made some bargain with the devil. To this day, we still don't know, but my legs became something a bit more normal after that. And so with that in mind, reaching out with this cane, trying to catch Christian's leg to pull him back in, I think I reach out beyond the banister, kind of past that tipping point where I shouldn't be able to do that. I shouldn't be able to defy gravity in quite that way. Others might see some of this inverted sparkling of floating upward snowflake lights as I catch his ankle and kind of haul him back to the edge of the balcony.
I think like maybe it's a few beats before that when Christian realizes what's happening and he sees that you're the person saving him, bringing him away from the or bringing him over to the banister. And you're holding him, he's holding you. It's probably a very awkward scene, all in all, knowing what we know about you. And he's kind of breathing like really like nervously, and he says, "Jakob, what's happening? What was that?"
I have no words for it, but were you ever able to repeat this performance on stage? And the Nutcracker, I'm sure it would be the mark of society. Like no one could stop talking about your prowess and skill as a dancer. But
You mean if I could somehow float in the air again?
Dancers defy gravity, do they not?
Well, when I told my parents that I wanted to fly like a bird on stage, it's not exactly what I had in mind. But thank you, I guess.
I'll give his hand a little sort of an extra squeeze. Hold on for a moment too long. And I say, you'll be fine, I think.
As you're climbing the stairs, Dominic, Julius says, "Oh, how absolutely adorable. Can we just kill them both now and get this done with?"
Behave.
You do what you want with the ballet dancer. I'll drain our friend Jakob, and this will be a night well spent.
Not yet. If and when I tell you.
You do get up there. What do you do at that point, Dom?
I'm gonna grab Jakob's arm politely to anyone looking, but a little too hard, and say, "Quite the performance. The kitchen, both of you."
And Christian follows behind, and as he's like being pulled away, Julius like leans in and like smells Christian, like takes in a deep inhalation, and he's like, "Something you can never tell from the audience is that ballet dancers always smell of horse." And you continue on. Lady Florence, Victoria, your card game. How are you, Victoria? I think it might be up to you to get the sculptor to actually come find the card game. Is the card game taking place in a parlor? Is it like, where is this happening? Is it somewhere just off to the side in the ballroom?
I think it is positioned. It's probably in a parlor connected to the ballroom enough that he will
Where people can
position-
go and catch their breath and stuff and relax.
Yeah, and we'll kind of position him so that he can like peek, like he'll be able to see what's going on, but like like he has no awareness of anything that's going on around whatever we're allowing him to see.
Victoria, how are you going to lure him in?
Well, I think I'd like to pair with Lady Florence and sit with my back against the wall so I am visibly the one facing out towards the ballroom. And as I'm shuffling and dealing cards and just kind of making light chatter with the Admiral and Lady Florence, I think this sculptor might see and be drawn to me just as both being marked by him and the most beloved. I think I just sit there and bait.
I like it. Let's do the night move. What are you afraid is going to happen if you fail?
That just like at the park, the sculptor will take other hostages on his way into the parlor.
Yeah, I like it. It's good. I think you should roll with presence. I'm not going to put you at disadvantage because you're actually kind of like using the conditions in a certain way. But I'd like for you to roll with presence. Yeah. I'll have to say how it's worse than that too. He will kill Sasha.
Well, my presence is a +2, and I did make my dice compete for love today. That's a 9 + 2 is another 11.
It's going to work. The sculptor, you can see him slowly making his way around the perimeter of the crowd in the shadows, keeping to the shadows until he gets proximate to where this little parlor is. And then he kind of like steps out to you and he says, "Oh, so we meet again."
Well, it's quite fortuitous. We need a fourth. And I just
Yes.
gesture to the chair.
My apologies for setting fires the other day. I sometimes get caught up in my enthusiasms and I can't do anything about it. I just completely lose control.
Victoria deals 13 cards to each and makes eyes at Lady Florence because this was her plan, and I'm just, here we are.
The sculptor looks at you, Lady Florence, and says, "So nice to see you again. And up close this time. Oh."
Indeed. Before anyone Ms. Balakwa, you've already looked at your cards, so maybe you're out of this. But how about we make this hand a little bit more interesting? Little wager, if you will.
Well, I dealt the cards, so it wouldn't really be proper for me to make a bet.
Admiral Flag, who introduces himself to the sculptor as well, says, "A wager. I have a feeling you have something in mind apart from mere coin, Lady Florence. What did you have rattling around in your brain?"
Oh, at first I'd like to hear what the sculptor would like if you were to win this hand.
Oh, that's easy. The winner of the hand gets to claim a hand from one of the losers.
Seems fair to me. How about you, Admiral Flag?
I'm
slower.
working on a particularly macabre advent calendar for next year.
Sounds delightful, really.
I suppose you could add just like a handful of teeth to the third and then work up to the hand later on in the calendar.
Yes, that's a splendid idea. But I am an artist, and I have my own particular artistic vision. I do not need your input, nor do I request it. Deal.
Your cards are just there.
Admiral Flag says, "Well, this is going wonderfully so far."
I'm just grateful that I dealt, so I don't feel like I am obligated to pay any debts. Second trick.
And the cards are being played. Let's come back to Jakob and Dominic, and then we'll go to our final unseen prompt. What's going on in the kitchen, Dominic?
Well, I imagine there are also caterers and staff that we've hired for the party.
That's our steward is hired, yes.
So he'll kind of move past them, still a firm hold on Jakob's arm, and he'll just kind of plant him on a chair in the kitchen and say, "You will stay here until this is over. And when it's over, we will have a conversation."
Julius says, "Shall I stand guard over him?"
No eating, but yes.
"Oh, I shall do my best to keep my hands off of whatever the caterers have here. Don't you worry."
Behave. Both of you.
What are you going to do with Christian? Is Christian staying there too, or is he?
I imagine Christian is just, sticking near Jakob.
Yeah, indeed.
I squeak
then-
out. I was just trying to help.
Well, you certainly made an impression. And then he's going to head back to the ballroom. He doesn't want to miss the action.
Indeed. Let's go to the unseen. Our last stop at the Four Magpies. Mike, as last orders are called and people start to file out of the pub, how do we see Polly looking after our customers with words or action where needed?
I think when there are like particularly hammered patrons, Polly will at close pay some of the service staff or the girls in the rooms upstairs to escort the men. Essentially, like they are sober and just like a little bit of a ruse over their relationship as they guide them back home safely.
I love it. Let's take a quick 5-minute break. We'll come back and we will wrap up this night phase. Julius snags a tray of drinks from a passing waiter back in the kitchen, one of which smells very strongly of juniper. He says, "Let's enjoy ourselves, shall we, while we're here being minded and Christian could use a drink. He knocks his back. Julius drinks his with no particular relish. It's not his preferred libation. Do you drink? I will tell you that just smelling it, Jakob, makes you feel very wheezy or woozy.
Well, I've kind of had a night, and even though I'm not much for alcohol, I've heard that this is good to kind of calm the nerves and such. And so I, take the glass and give a little sip, and I look over at Christian and see that his hair's a bit amiss, and kind of take my finger and pull his forelock to the side. And
Julia says, "Oh, you really have to stop."
This tastes pretty good, actually. What is this?
He says, and Julius is like, "I don't know." And he kind of smells it and he says, "Something with gin."
Not bad. We didn't have that on the farm. London does have all the culture, it seems.
And of course, gin is your weakness, though. So how are you starting to be affected by the drink?
Gin's in the inverse, actually.
Gin
is the one alcohol that does not knock me.
All other alcohol.
Yeah. So should we?
I'm going to change that.
Hop it back, and this is port or claret.
Yeah, I thought it'd be weird if I was like, why is it just gin? It's just some. I don't know. He smells it. And he's like, I don't know. It smells like some sort of, I don't know, some sort of wine or champagne. How's it making you feel?
All right, so a sip of wine. It tastes good in that way that makes you want to overindulge, like when you get a sweet pastry and you're like, yeah, I need more of that and more of that. And then you pretty quickly have eaten too much or consumed too much and regret it. So like a little sip, not bad. Like, another sip, and then suddenly I'm just like, and sort of melting into the chair. And I gently try to set it on the kitchen counter to get the glass away from me.
Julius is looking at this and he's going to seize the opportunity. He says, first of all, he grabs Christian with one hand and and even though Christian is a muscular, powerful dancer, Julius just grabs him by his neck and just pulls him very easily and twists his head around, right? So the three of you are very close to each other now. And he says, "Do you know what I am?"
Well, you're close friends with Mr. Constantine.
Yes, that's true, of a sort. But no, I am the type of creature, we'll say, that likes to feast upon the blood of handsome young men. In fact, I've been doing it since the time of Hadrian. I am very much interested in tasting your blood, Sir, Mr. Walsh. And I would like for you to let me have my taste without much resistance. Alternatively, I can drain this pretty one dry. I'll let you choose.
Are we alone in the kitchen, or is there any wait staff around?
Actually, there is a bunch of wait staff around, but he's pulled you all in really close, so no one really knows what you're talking about. And they're all busy in any case.
I'm looking around the kitchen. I see a colander and just kind of get a shiver down my spine. You vampires aren't real. You prove it.
He bares his fangs.
Oh. And I think you don't like wine either, and I grab my little wine glass and offer it to Julius.
He says, "You have until the count of 3 to make your decision, Mr. Walsh. I'm trying to get this done before Dominic gets back. 1.
Just like a little sip,
2.
And I'll put my thumb forward just like a little bit. Just leave Christian out of this. He's
He immediately goes for Christian's neck.
I'm trying to offer my thumb, like interpose it. Like, no,
I see.
save.
Interesting. Okay, I like that. He will actually take your whole hand and sink his teeth into your wrist. Christian looks on in horror, and he's drinking you.
I think
And
in response, my digits just multiply, like double up again. Christian probably sees that as well.
Yeah, Christian is just like in total shock and horror right now. Julius likes what he tastes and is like draining you. Is like he's going to just try to drain you completely at this point. What do you do?
I first start with the polite protestation of stop it, and then
I don't think that's going to get anywhere.
Oh, I'm sure it won't. Right. But since my Mask of the Past has unlocked the four limbs of
Four limbs, yes.
Oh, the vault of the four limbs.
Yeah.
It feels a moment to
you have a key you can assign.
Reflexively use this. I'm kind of still wrapping my head around the keys versus the vault.
So you have one key, you have access to one vault, so you can put your one key in any of those four options. Does that make sense?
Sort of, but the Mask of the Past that I checked said to find the vault of the four limbs or discover it, whatever the word was.
Right. So you have it now. You have access to it now.
So I have access to that, right?
You do indeed, yes. And so you have four options there. And if you had two keys, you could open up two of them right now, but you could use two of them right now. But right now you can just do one. So
got it. All right. So give me 1 second.
Typically what you do in the desk phase is you assign them all, or at one of the phases you assign all your keys, but I'll let you just assign this one.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Kind of learning how the playbook works.
Yeah.
How about this? The Hammer of Gantos, which can sunder any object. I don't really know how it happens or if I controlled it. Like, I don't really know, but the floor beneath Julius just caves out and drops Julius away from me physically.
Oh yeah, I like that. So it's the Hammer of Gantos that did that.
Right.
Are you like physically wielding the hammer, or is it like busting up from below?
I still have that cane that I used to snag Christian's ankle, and I think, hand being drained of blood, with the other hand I kind of like jam that cane into the ground, and the floor caves away in a supernatural manner and physically sunders, pulls apart
like it
Julius from me.
You get advantage for using the Hammer of Gantos. I have to ask you the question, what does it feel like to touch something so powerful, or to have access to something so powerful? Think on it. We'll come back to the scene. Lady Florence and Victoria. Card game is going. While kind of looking at his cards and things, Admiral Flagg says, "Tell me, friend," to the sculptor, "do you know the precise nature of the work that Lady Florence and Miss Belacqua do here at Hargrave House?" And the sculptor says, "Throw parties, whatever else the idle rich get up to. No, silly man. They have a self-imposed remit to capture and or destroy the monsters that stalk the streets of London. Literal monsters, but also monsters like you.
Monsters that kill little men about to be, beautiful and artistic, and at this point Victoria starts to get a little flustered, and we start to see a little smoke curling around her collar.
Indeed, this entire soiree is for your benefit. They have invited Scotland Yard to take up positions to catch you. This very card game is a ruse to hold you in place. And the sculptor, he just has a hand fly up and he has his ice pick and he's about to drive it into your skull, Lady Florence. What do you do?
I think I'm just like very, without like flinching above the table, I'm just going to stick my leg out and try and kick the leg of his chair out to kind of throw his balance. And yeah.
Let's do the night move. What are you afraid is going to happen if you fail?
I mean, I will be a victim and this whole plot will be ruined, essentially.
He is going to kill you, and then he's going to take a swipe at Ms. Balakwa and escape. Let's go ahead and get dice on the table. You are going to be at disadvantage. And it's going to be vitality.
Okay. So, okay, give me a second here. Oh, that's not good. It is a 5 right now.
The ice pick pierces your skull and goes directly from one temple to the other, spattering your brain matter against the back wall. He wrenches the ice pick free and then immediately raises it to swing down at Ms. Balakwa. He's very workmanlike, very efficient in his strokes with the ice pick, unless you want to put on the Janus mask.
I will put on the Janus mask. I need to do that one.
Admiral Flag has a little smirk on his face the whole time.
Let's do this. Will probably be a good darkened threshold instance.
What does that do?
Narrate a scene in which you inflict violence on someone and the authorities look the other way.
Oh, very good. You have a 7 to 9 instead. You're going to succeed. There's going to be a complication or a cost. I think the complication or cost is just that he's now aware of what's happening, and even though you're going to have him prone, he's going to be doing his damnedest to still try to escape, and Ms. Balak will have to do something to secure him. So let's go ahead and change the scene. Instead, he swings at you, and then what happens?
Yeah, I mean, I just jut out my leg, kick the leg of his chair out, and it spins. I think like he like ends up like stabbing the floor very quickly, and I just like glare at Miss Balakwa.
Admiral Flag takes a sip of his cognac. Dom, you can be aware of the chaos going on in the parlor as well. Do you make your way over there quickly?
Yeah, I will surreptitiously grab my blades from under my coat and start making my way to the sculptor.
Ms. Balakwa, you'll see Dominic coming out of the corner of your eye. What are you doing right now?
Well, Victoria saw Dominic coming 10 seconds before she could see him. She's enraged and starting to channel a lot of the spirits that swarm around her in her being. And I think as the sculptor first swings and misses and hits in the floor, he wildly swings his ice pick again and catches Lady Balakwa in the probably like the calf muscle. And from that fresh, hot, piercing wound and the blood dripping down her leg. She would like to cast a ritual in which she can bind him in place while she screams and fills the rest of the banquet hall with as much darkness as she can. So when Scotland Yard comes running in, it is a very clear path to the sculptor.
Yes, indeed. Or for Dominic, I suppose.
Either way.
Good. All right, let's have a roll here. You are going to be at disadvantage as well. Go ahead and roll with sensitivity.
That'd be a 7 + 1 is 8.
You have to choose a complication from your list of complications.
Mm-hmm. Let me look here. I think the effect is less than I wanted. I'm not able to channel enough of my pain to fill the room with darkness, and instead I am just billowing uncontrollably with black void smoke, and my scream kind of turns a little darker and guttural. I might not be as in much of control of what's happening as I thought.
Admiral Flag. Admiral Flag takes a moment to run up, and he gives a swift kick to the sculptor, presumably to kick the sculptor to take him down. But what he's really doing is knocking him out of the nimbus of your magical effect. He's still sprawled and vulnerable and there, but he's in the darkness. Dominic, you have entered this scene. You just saw Admiral Flag kick the sculptor into the shadows of the room. What do you do?
Where are the Scotland Yard?
They're nowhere handy.
Nowhere. Good. Good. Dom's gonna see that and kind of grin a little bit and just start hauling ass directly at the sculptor, blades out.
Indeed. You can just finish the sculptor off. Describe it.
First thing he's going to do is presumably the ice pick is lying somewhere cinematically close but enough, and as the sculptor reaches for it, the camera will close in on the hand, and then Dom's blade just piercing through the floor, through his palm and into the floor. And Dom's going to lean down and say, "I wish you'd run," and just jab the other knife, in the same way that the ice pick didn't go through Lady Florence's head.
Nice. Jakob, you are going to roll. Did you roll already to deal with Julius?
No, but I will.
Yeah, go ahead and roll with, I think it's probably with vitality.
That's a 13 then, is what that is. The Hammer of Gantos has spoken.
Very nice. I love it. You get a bonus as well. I think the bonus is going to be Christian's going to ask to move in. But go ahead and describe how you dispatch Julius. Julius is not necessarily dead, but he is out of the picture. What happens here?
Are we okay with Julius sort of exiting the scene for the time being?
Absolutely, yeah.
All right. So as I was saying earlier, I've still got this cane, and I convulsively kind of smack it into the ground as I'm distraught over my hand being sucked of blood, and the floor beneath Julius just caves, and with this incredibly loud noise, he just goes whoop, and disappears into a sewer that must be running below Hargrave House, and blows away. The kitchen staff react accordingly to just chaos in the pantry here. I nearly fall in, like kind of teeter, slide, collapse onto the ground a little bit, and then just sort of sit there bewildered and absolutely wiped out. In terms of how it felt, when your arm hairs stand up, that kind of electrified feeling. There's that, except that my arm hairs actually fell out, like they sort of and shed. I haven't noticed right now. They'll grow back by the morning, but I seem to have this strange physiological response to like losing body hair in moments of panic or something. Don't understand it.
Let's have a little Hargrave House holiday epilogue. Detective Inspector Pettigrew is saying, "It's a damn shame, a damn shame, that we weren't able to bring the proper Queen's justice to this monstrosity. But nevertheless, because of our combined efforts here today, he will no longer be a scourge to this city. I commend you." And someone in official capacity is bringing the sculptor's body, carrying it out. The party is basically over, but you're left there with the dancers, with Christian, with yourselves, and Admiral Flagg at the end. Admiral Flagg says, "Oh, I almost forgot. I got you a little Christmas gift, Lady Florence." And he hands you what seems to be a book wrapped in red tissue paper.
Oh, you shouldn't have. You've already given me so much.
Please, open it.
All right, I'll open it.
It is a biography of himself, where he is. It indicates that he is Britain's greatest champion, the finest explorer the world has ever known, and it goes on and on at some length about all of his various successes for Queen and country, how he captured the legendary pirate Queen of Barbuda, how he helped chart the Northwest Passage, and all sorts of other things. This is a little bit of inspirational reading.
It's not even signed, though.
He kind of smirks and says, "Well, you know where to find me. Now, I'm going to retire. Happy holidays. Happy Christmas, one and all." And he leaves. And let's just have a little, you can narrate a little epilogue for yourself here at the end.
I think after the sculptor's body is carried out, Dom will be cleaning his blades, and when no one's looking, he'll kind of raise one to his lips and just taste a spot of blood, and then kind of spit it out and say, "Only human."
Indeed. Also, I would like for you to take both. Actually, I think I want you to take an X for the hunt. Victoria?
Victoria goes to the nearest chaise and scandalously starts pulling up her skirts and rolling down her stockings over her wounded calf and flashing a little bit of leg. And the dancers that come to help carry her upstairs help to bind it very tightly. And perhaps we linger there for quite some time.
Indeed. Jakob? Or Lady Florence?
Let me go first, Mike. You can mop up here. You said that Christian was going to request to move into Hargrave House.
Well, yeah, we can have that scene.
Yeah. I perhaps hear that request and say, "Well, look, I'm just a tenant here myself." And then I look down at the floor and I'm like, "Oh my God." I don't even know what that's going to cost.
He says, "Well, I won't be any bother. It's just that, well, I don't really feel safe anymore. Even though that terrible man has been brought to justice, I just feel vulnerable, and something about this place, even though it is rather large and unusual, makes me feel like I can focus on my art here.
Well, Lady
In
Florence
safety.
is generous and a patron of many arts, but I feel like I must leave you to make that pitch yourself. I don't have the authority to grant residency here.
I don't know if Lady Florence does either, but I also don't think I don't think anyone cares who moves in and out of Hargrave House. Lady Florence,
In my mind, Lady Florence owns the place. That may not be true.
right? He just thanks you for your help tonight and hugs you, and we could get really cheesy here and say there's a piece of mistletoe hanging above the doorway, but maybe not. Lady Florence.
I think I'd toss Admiral Flagg's book into the fire, warming up the parlor bit, and I walk back over to the table where we had been playing the game of hearts, and just kind of like it would have been my turn, and so I draw the next card off the draw pile, and it's the Queen of Hearts, and I look down at like my giant hand, and I would have effectively shot the moon and won the hand, and so Lady Florence just taps that card and thinks that she effectively won the bet, but or would have
Indeed.
had it handled.
And Hargrave House is coated with fresh powder of snow. There are people singing Christmas carols around the big tree that's been erected in Belgrave Square. And that will conclude our holidays special. We will pick up in the new year with a regular campaign with these characters, but for now, that is where we're going to end. Let's go ahead and go to the dawn phase. Do all the things we need to do in the dawn phase. I think some people owe some scenes, in fact. But let's talk about rewards, because there are rewards to collect. So let me pull that up real quick. Because you did solve the Nutcracker threat. I'll pull it up real quick. Yeah. I will screenshot this for you and I'll read it out for people watching the video. Okay, so one of the rewards is an end of session scene in which the hunters host a Hargrave House holiday meal. The hunters may invite any guests they wish to appear. If the mastermind is invited, they will bring a gift that counts as a mastermind clue. We kind of already did that, so I think probably I would skip that one. We kind of got the same effect in that one. Otherwise, you have Rabbi Rebecca Solomon may be consulted at her synagogue on an ongoing basis. You get an extra clue on the information move when you seek counsel about atonement or the nature of the soul. The Ring of Solomon, add it to your personal quarters. If you have the cosmic passage marked, you hear whispers from within. This is the rabbi's ring. The ice pick of the sculptor, add it to your personal quarters. A bottle of human testicles, add it to your personal quarters. And a memento from the investigation. Ask another hunter what it is and then add it to your personal quarters. Who wants what?
Narratively, oh, go ahead.
I think Dom would like the ice pick.
Narratively, I would love to continue to seek counsel from Rebecca Solomon, the rabbi.
Very good. Lady Florence, a memento, a bunch of human testicles, or the Ring of Solomon?
I'd probably take the memento.
You get to say who gets to define it for you.
Jakob, why don't you tell me?
Ooh, the memento. I think it's that Queen of Hearts card that for you choose to pull that out of the deck and maintain that one separately for some reason.
Very good. Jakob, which reward are you taking?
Is there more than one memento to go around, or
There's just one for this one. So you've
Oh,
either got the
man.
Ring of Solomon, or you
or a
have
bottle of testicles,
or the sculptor's bottle of testicles, because he gelded all the dancers. Remember that he killed.
Yeah. Man, they barely make sense. If I'm taking the ring, how do I acquire this? Like,
I don't know. That's something we can figure out. Maybe it comes to you in an unmarked envelope.
Yeah, I think I'll go with the ring.
Good. For the ring, it says, add it to your personal quarters. If you have the cosmic passage marked, you can hear it. It will talk to you, basically. You hear whispers from within it. So, but someone has sent it to you. Maybe it's even like sent as a gift, like a Christmas gift or a Hanukkah gift. And
could it come from Lady or Miss Gagnon, perhaps?
Well, no, because the ring belongs to Rabbi Solomon.
Yes, that's kind of the question. So it's the rabbi's ring. Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
Carry on.
Maybe it was brought to the house to be delivered to Victoria and you just forget.
Oh, that could be good.
Oh, true.
It
Yeah.
was meant to go to Victoria, and you got it. Yeah,
I like that.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
It's
Under the
also going to lead to some fun interplay because those dark spirits.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Absolutely.
it'll be fun.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Well, yeah. That might. You can see why Rabbi Solomon might send it to you, because, like, since you're in Hargrave House, you have familiarity with dark spirits. Like, you could make use of it, right? Even because she doesn't do this work anymore. Maybe she's just tired of the burden of it.
In my mind, she's
And
sending
Jakob
it
gets
to
it instead.
Jakob
Yeah.
because she knows he's living with me and that he might need it for his own protection.
In any case, you have intercepted this present, Jakob, and you have it now. Great. Someone has asked, are we giving presents like to each other? I suppose if you want to, yeah.
In that first, I know we kind of like did the party scene, but it says each hunter may name one item in their personal quarters and give it to another hunter who may add it to their personal quarters.
Oh, that'll be fun.
unmarked,
Yeah.
which I
do
think is
it.
a very fun
Yeah.
aspect of this.
Yeah, by all means.
I think I'm going to give my astrolabe with strange power to Jakob. Like, it relates to the stars and it has strange power. It's kind of a symbol of him, and maybe I think it will help him unlock who he is.
Very nice.
Like it.
I think I might give my stack of penny dreadfuls to Mr. Constantine, seeing his love of action and things like that. It seems like these might appeal to his senses more than mine.
I have a monogrammed handkerchief in my possession, and I think that I will rewrite that to be ornate and finely crafted Lady Florence's initials. And I will give that to you in the spirit of good tidings.
I think that after Julius misbehaved, Dominic knows that we may need to be prepared. So he's going to give Victoria the stakes of wood and various minerals.
A fine gift.
Very fine.
It actually
gift,
worked really well. Like, all those were really cool shifts in our characters. I like it a lot.
Fabulous. Let's continue with Dawn phase. Dawn questions. So you all did answer a capital Q question, and you did resolve a threat. So everyone's getting 2 XP for those first 2. Let's check in with echoes in the night. Lady Florence, did you get an echo in the night? Going back to last week and this week.
I plan to hit it with one of my ode masks.
Oh, okay. So you can do it. That's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
You can mark it later if you do that.
All right.
That sounds good to me. Echoes of the Night. Victoria, did you get one?
The persnickety mustache was the most blatant.
Dominic, did you?
The young man needing an invite into the bar
Oh yeah,
with Julius.
right. Yeah, it's subtle. It's good.
a good one.
Jakob, what about you?
The moving of the lock of hair, the brushing the hair.
Good. All right. Echoes are done. Lady Florence, did you leverage your societal status to gain the upper hand? I would say you did with Sir Stuart.
There's a few instances.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you use your loyalty to Her Majesty to justify your brutal actions?
There was a point from last session, I was trying to remember it, where I was leaning into that. I think it was when I was scolding Stuart or Flag in that initial conversation. But I can't remember it specifically. So
yeah, I'm not. It's not ringing a bell for me.
Okay.
To justify your brutal actions. That's the real key part, though, right? Like, oh, I kind of remember this. Was this like? Yeah, I don't know if it quite landed the right way.
Okay.
But yeah. Victoria, did you perform a ritual? Yes, you did. Did you make love to a dark entity because it felt good?
I mean, there was a whole masturbating shtick last.
Oh, that's right.
Session.
Yeah. Yeah, you could take that. Dominic, did you tell someone why their plans were poorly made?
Yeah, he tried to steer Jakob from leaving the ballet hall.
Oh, indeed. Did you taste someone or something else's blood right at the end? You did. Jakob, did you demonstrate extreme naivete when faced with the horrors of London?
I invited a vampire into the house because he was a
Yes.
friend of my friend.
Right, yeah. Did you quietly but visibly defer to the wishes of another hunter despite your misgivings?
Last go around, deferred to Dominic. I guess also going to the kitchen as well. So twice have been sort of
yeah, I think
Dominic.
with the kitchen thing especially, I think really it kind of that there was no reason for you to do that, right? Okay, good. I like it. Okay, playbook moves. At this point, Jakob, you can assign your keys. This is where you would assign your keys.
Yeah, let me ask a question about that. So I have one key already. I have one vault.
You have one key and 4 places to put it.
Right. But I've only unlocked the vault of the 4 limbs so
That's
far.
it. Yeah. So you can put it in one of those 4.
So I put the key in that vault, but that vault then has 4 sub vaults, if you will.
No, the key goes in the little sub things. The vault is just open, and now there's like things within the vault.
So in the future, at any time, I could use any of the 4 vault of the 4 limbs.
You can choose right now which one you're going to assign it to, and that's what you'll have for next time.
So like I use the Hammer of Gontos, I could switch it next session if I wanted to.
You can switch it right now. You can switch it. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
And then as I get a second key, would that only open a vault? It would not open an additional 4th limb, so to speak.
No, it's the exact opposite. If you get a second key, you can now do the shield and the hammer, or the sword and the shield. See, like it's the vault. Just now, once you open a second vault, you then have, so like if you click on that, you've got 8 options now, 2 keys and 8 options, right? So
got it. And then as time goes on, my character might session to session have different powers active.
Precisely. Like basically every dawn phase, you get to just have new powers that you
great. Thank you. I understand.
Yeah. And so at this point, if you don't want to keep it the Hammer of Gontos, you can change it to something else. But whatever you pick, that's what it'll be for next time. I'm going
to stick with the Hammer of Gontos for now.
Okay, sounds good. All right. Now let's do Janus Mask prompts. Whoever owes one still, by all means, go for it.
I've got 2 that I owe. So I will start with the Mask of the Past, which is narrate a flashback to the time when the explorer first arrived at the village. And this is from the perspective of the boy whose village was occupied. So this is, of course, an underwater city. These people, if you call them that, are essentially like the Aquaman type of thing, where they've got the gills in their neck, and they essentially live in this very dim light. Their eyes, of course, are adjusted to it. whales and fish and all sorts of creatures swim about, and something curious starts to happen where there's an unidentified creature that seems to be moving around the village, and it comes by every once in a while and then disappears. It moves very differently than the rest of the creatures. It can move vertically, and it moves a lot in straight lines. It's very strange. It does not behave like any of the vessels that we use or any of the creatures that we know. And the other strange thing about it is at times it will just hover above the village, and we'll see these bright lights. They're almost blinding, and at some point this thing keeps on coming, and it gets closer and closer, and there's one night, day, whatever, I don't know if we can even tell the difference, that it's hovering above the village, and I swim up to it, and the light coming out of the porthole, because the way my eyes are, is just blinding. And I look in, and it seems like there's an angel inside. I'm looking through one of these portholes, and it's a woman there, and it is Lady Florence, of course. We would know. And I sort of like touch the porthole, and she touches the porthole, and kind of like the ET moment, and swim back down, and begin telling the rest of the village about this angel in the sky, that's come to save us.
I love it. It's great. You want to do your other one too?
Yes. So the other one is the darkened threshold. There is a young trust fund baby journalist who actually frequents the Four Magpies, and what's interesting about him is I had brought him on one of the voyages down to this village, and he knows things about what happened down there. I go to the Magpies and spend a night there, dressed as just a typical, ordinary woman. And at the end of the night, when this particular journalist and his compatriot are leaving and sloshed, I offer to Polly O'Donnell that I can escort them home. And we head out into the street, and I think the camera sees us go around one corner and just sees me walk past. And later, D.I. Pettigrew comes to the scene of a crime where this journalist and his compatriot have been murdered, and he finds a map of the, what's my last name?
Wilton Davies.
Wilton Davies of the Wilton Davies Trench, and there is the Pettigrew Abyss penciled in. And he takes the map and folds it and ignores the crime.
How intriguing. I'm curious why you killed them. I guess we'll find out. Is there any other Janus Mask?
I have one. So I'm to narrate a flashback to my childhood that shows the first hunt I went on and what about it disturbed me. As a young boy, Dominic was being trained in the family business with his sister, who was a little bit older, and his sister was bright, vivacious, a charming girl of the era, but in a hunt, she was a beast, sometimes more monstrous than the monsters themselves, which was all to the delight of their parents. But seeing his sister tear her way through the throat of something that looked human with her prepubescent hands and blades that were too big for them. As much as Dominic knew he wanted, or he would be expected to do that one day, he wondered who decided they aren't the monsters.
Nice. I love it. Is that it for Janus Mask? Okay. And then in that case, that will conclude our session. Let's do stars and wishes. For it can be for the whole 3-session holiday special if we want, stars, and then wishes for, you know, things we hope to see in the next, as the campaign continues next year. And I'll start today and say that I really, really like these characters, and I like how quickly you each settled into like who these characters are, what their deal is, how they interact with the world, what their sort of peccadillos and vices and habits are. Like all that stuff is coming through really nicely. I think that Brian, I really enjoyed the way you're playing Jakob. There's this that naivete is coming across really strongly, and I'm happy that we're getting this like gradually unfurling like reality of what Jakob is, and so I super love that. Mike, I really enjoyed your Mask of the Past, introducing the sort of Atlantean society or whatever it is down below the waves. That's a really interesting interpretation of the explorer's Mask of the Past, and it actually kind of like situates it in a really interesting, much more like kind of science fantasy mode, which I think is really great. And I think that's appropriate for kind of where this campaign I think is heading. And so I was really happy to see that. And it was just a good scene too. It was just really great how this idea of like an angel in the submersible, right? Like that's pretty great. Yeah, and Victoria, I like how you lean on your magic and use your magic to accomplish things in the world. I think it's always really fun to see. And one of the wishes I have is to sort of see how Victoria and also Dominic start to sort of interact with this world that might become a little bit more science fiction than like horror, right? And so I'll be curious to see like how that kind of plays out. It may not matter at all because you still have to face threats, some of which are monstrous, and so I don't think it's gonna be that big of a deal. But and League of Extraordinary Gentlemen has characters that are mismatched like that, right? Like you know, Mina Harker is very much like that kind of character, you know. And so yeah, I really just enjoy that. And yeah, and Dominic or Ben, I really enjoyed how Dominic. I really like the relationship with Julius. I think is really interesting. I like how you were kind of handling that kind of that situation with Christian and Jakob. It felt very I don't know, like it had a like it feels like there's a lot of interesting weird tensions between these characters, you know, between Julius and Dominic, between Julius and Jakob, between Christian and Jakob. Like it's all very gay, and I'm enjoying that part of it. So yeah, it was good fun. And wishes, yeah, I just I'll be curious to see how things go when you pick up the Limehouse lurker threat, which you have not investigated in earnest yet, and so that'll be fun to see. And yeah, and also I have to make a decision about what threat will be next. So yeah, so yeah, just excited.
I really liked how cards kept popping up in today's session. Just, I don't know, it was an interesting sort of theme running through it. And Sarah's playing of Victoria Balakwa, I've got like, she's that Victorian medium where it's always about the spirits, always. Just, there's nothing natural in the world almost. Mike typed a thing in the chat that gave such great fodder was when I unlocked the first Vault of the Four Limbs. that Hammer of Gontos. He wrote, every one of those is going to damage my house, isn't it? And I'm like, there we go. We're off. This is going to be good. So Hargrave House is going to probably take a beating as time goes on here. And Ben, the what was it? Quite the Performance Kitchen, both of you now. The chastising sort of paternal role is playing off really fun. What else? Oh, so this is our second, for me at least, second time playing the Between. And I had a brief moment with D.I. Pettigrew. It's almost a wish. It's partially a star, but like I'm picturing like the recorded journals of D.I. Pettigrew, who's dealt with more than one Hargrave House. Like this poor beleaguered detective who's like, oh God, again.
I don't think he ever feels that way, though. I think D.I. Pettigrew is always believes he is in control. And
right, yeah, and I don't mean it as a literal thing for the game. More just like, can you imagine somebody like playing multiple sessions of the Between, and then sort of pretending that it was always the same D.I. Pettigrew through these multiple campaigns?
Didn't we decide last time that in Night Visitors that maybe it was Night Visitor, maybe it was Shadow Society, I don't remember, but like, didn't we decide at one point that the whole campaign was just like D.I. Pettigrew's fanfic? Like, it's just like going home at night, like writing these stories.
Yeah. Like this is where Bram Stoker got his ideas. He was hanging out with D.I. Pettigrew, and he's like, "You won't believe what happened to me."
I really enjoyed giving Jakob responsibility for why the dancer was floating, and just everything that kind of knocked on from that. That was really good. I think that was really good for Jakob and made things really interesting. We'll see how everyone responds to that moving forward. I'm looking forward to Dominic having a word with Julius. Julius did not listen, and also maybe seeing how Jakob explains the hole in the kitchen floor, maybe to Lady Florence. That would be a wish. This was great. I really enjoyed the use of your dark smoke, Victoria, and didn't quite work out, but seeing Flag have an opportunity to oopsie, I'm helping, was a good shot. Lady Florence, as was mentioned, the Atlantean take on the boy is brilliant, and I liked just the way you framed that was really good. And Jakob's, I just can't wait to see more of Jakob coming into his own and what that's going to mean. Big stars. This was a fun Christmas special.
I have a few specific stars. I think echoing Jason complimenting you, Brian, on that kind of naivete that's coming through with Jakob's character. There was a specific example of that where you're like, well, vampires aren't real. And then after the fangs come out, your ooh was just like, it was so perfect, like pitch perfect. And I really enjoyed that. It was a good example of that coming through. Also enjoyed kind of the vaudeville act of you taking a hook and trying to like pull this floating person back or off the stage, or there was something really fun and campy about that.
And kind of ironic, given that it was like ballet, right? As well.
Right. Mike, a star for you for the last paint the scene, or that we had for the unseen. You invented sober beard escorts, that just these women that would make sure that their men looked fine on the drunken, like it was the very Victorian sober cab kind of, like it was a genius idea. I loved it. I also have a star for Admiral Flag giving just the tackiest Christmas gift ever, like giving somebody a book, but also their own book that's not autographed. It was just mwah.
And that was after he gave a gift of a really tacky wreath with like starfish and stuff in it.
Like, Palm Beach kind of Christmas. It was very visual. But I also have like Dominic's scene where he stabbed through the hand into the floorboard. There were a lot of real examples of that kind of cinematic sort of role playing that I just adore about this game. And so having that set into like the dark, haunting Christmas and soon to be steampunk sort of vibes, I'm really excited for what's going to happen next for sure.
And yeah, like the Dominic Julius stuff, star for that, like that is just, it's delicious. It's wonderful. Victoria kind of becoming the like the person that we look to get the job done, or at least that I look to get the job done. I can't really do much. And then yeah, so Victoria just like, yeah, being the occultist who gets things done.
God, it's really strange the way our relationship is turning out, to me being a blunt hammer to whatever you're particularly doing. We'll see if that continues in the new year too, but yeah, it's been
Mhm.
fascinating.
Yeah, like I think like Jakob, I'm like really intrigued by like the way that that's turned the corner, and I think yeah, you're the naivete that you've set up, and now like that unlock of power, like real power at this point. It's not just comedy. I think is going to be really interesting. So I guess it's yeah, combination like star slash wish there. A star to Jason on the way that you run the game. So like the thing I'll say is like the Atlantean thing, I was planning a completely different way to handle that mask. And but you kept on like dropping, and I think it's a combination of the characters too, like that idea of the science fantasy type of thing. And so at some point, like it just like clicked for me during the session, and I was just like, "Oh, I'm gonna make the submarine a UFO, and we're gonna go like along that route." Like it just sort of like clicked, and I think that that's like it's a benefit to the game. Like even like Admiral Flag, like when he first showed up, I was kind of like, I don't know what to do with this. I just want you to go away because I don't know what to do. But you keep on bringing him up and like hitting that key, and like every time he comes up, like it sort of like challenges me to like think about like, okay, how am I actually going to deal with this? And so I think like hitting those same notes and bringing those same things, that the repetition there, especially in a game where you're not coming into it with a background and you're sort of like creating a background. And so yeah, like my wish is also like tied into that of like I feel like the character kind of like clicked for me in a way today. That always happens with the Mask of the Past, but I think that combination and the tension with Lady Florence of we've got this Mask of the Future where now we know that she is trying to hide wherever the Mask of the Past is going, and we know that she is like doing these really like brutal things in order to like cover that up.
That's what I thought. I was like not sure if I was understanding correctly. Like I was trying to intuit like, okay, did the reporter like learn something about the village? And okay, so all right, it's good to have that confirmed. I think I was just being slow, but yeah.
Yeah, it's also weird, right? Because with this, you want to leave like dramatic room that you can change the definition of something. Like even what happened with my thing with what I was planning for the mask, right? Like you want to change the definition as more unseens get seeded, as more other character interactions get seeded. And then another star for giving presents, which I know I requested. But I think that's a really like actually like a little lovely moment within this. I think it like it very much makes that epilogue work, and the way that everyone just found things that were really relevant within their stash was very sweet and special.
Yeah,
Thank
Yeah,
you.
that went well.
I the thing, I have another wish. This is entirely out of character discussion, but like I'm very curious. The big game changing thing that can happen when you have the Martian is the player of the Martian can mark, I think it's the Darkened Threshold. It's one of the future options that basically introduces a brand new mastermind, right? Like Jizad, the High Imperator of Venus, becomes the new mastermind. And what's really fascinating about that is when you have the Explorer in the same game, it means the Explorer's grand game switches to be with Jizad. And that implies that the explorer has been to space, or at least has had contact with the Venusians, right? And so it's interesting to see like how that's going to play out if that ever happens. Like, when will Brian choose to do that? When Admiral Flagg doesn't leave the story, he becomes a servant of Jasad, but he is no longer the big bad, right? And so it'll be kind of curious to see, like, I'll be kind of curious to see like if that happens, when it happens, and what it means, because it changes, it totally like reveals something about a lot about Lady Florence, because Lady Florence knows Jasad, is aware of Jasad. And indeed, it also kind of hints that Lady Florence knows who Jakob is, right? Like, and is not saying anything, right? Like, so all of that is really, really interesting. Was Yazad in the ocean? Like, you know, like how did you meet him? Or did you go to space at one point? You know, like there's just a lot of like, there's a lot of interesting questions there that we have that Mike especially will have to think about, you know, like, was there a portal underwater to Jazad's realm? Like, how did you make contact with Jazad? And so, yeah, I think that's really interesting. And also it really, really strongly implies that you know what Jakob is, and you are the reason why Jakob is at Hargrave House. Like, Jakob, you know, came there on his own, but maybe he didn't, right? Maybe you intended for him to be there. So it's just something you really have to think about, Mike, about how you want that to kind of play out, and what it all means. You know, a lot of it's and Brian too, like you know, Brian, you can mark that, you know, you can do it early before you've racked up too many mastermind clues, or you can wait until you've got 13 mastermind clues and then mark it and reset the counter to 0. So, you know, however you want to do that, but that's sort of the deal there. So yeah, that's, I have not had like a full-on campaign in this mode yet, and so I'm just excited to see where it goes and what it all means. So yeah, and I'm also like, I really want to, another challenge, a challenge that Sarah and Ben will have, that I've already kind of alluded to, but I think it's an important one, is you will have to think about how your characters continue to be salient in this like sort of changed environment. You know, like, what does it mean for a witch to be operating in a world where there might be an invasion from space, right? Like, you know,
space is full of darkness. I'll be
right,
just fine.
Yeah. So there's a lot to think about there, but anyway, I don't think I have anything else though. Is everybody all good to go? Any other stars or wishes? Okay. Well, in that case, this was great fun. I will meet up with this group in the new year. And so if you're watching the videos, we'll see you in January. Bye, everyone.